What's up YouTube, welcome back to another episode of Oxygen Not Included Season 2, and straight into what I said at the end of last episode, a pair of tanks. It's just two rectangles, so I've just done it and then skipped ahead for your, hopefully for your well-being, instead of watching me do it. Anyway, the right hand one, you can see they're both identical, other than the right hand one has 3 filters, air filters, because the right hand one will be for polluted water, the left hand one will be for clean water. So the polluted oxygen that obviously comes off polluted water will rise up and it will not be able to get out of there without being cleaned to clean oxygen. That oxygen will then be pushed wherever, likely into the main chamber to the left hand side, because you can see in the top left hand corner of each I've done a couple of steel air vents. The air vents will stop any pressure from building up. That should push anything that's created. Mostly it will be, well, the only thing created in there will be clean oxygen from the polluted side. And then if it does build up in the big chamber, we can select it from there, not a problem. I am now going to reroute all of the liquids I have. So that is the polluted first, because that's the biggest problem that I'm having. Backup sewage for the bathrooms. In fact, I'm going to do 1 or 2. Not sure. Anyway, for now, we'll do just the one. And then you can see the clean water one there as well. We've got too much clean water, which is a good thing, because we need to drastically increase our electrolysis system. Not sure if I show it, but what I'm also going to do is set a liquid sensor just below the level there where you can see the mesh, and then set it to the vent so that if it does fill up the tank, it stops the water and it doesn't overflow anywhere. Just looking to colour in now the actual behind the scenes sort of thing. I like to do this as you've seen from the gases. So the water chamber I'll colour in with a light blue. And for the right hand side I'll use some sort of piss green colour for the sewage, polluted water. There is some hydrogen trapped in there, but that'll all get pushed out. As soon as the water rises or starts to rise, all of the gas that's trapped in there will get pushed out of those 2 vent holes. The one in the middle did disappear, but then I've realised I need to be able to get the duplicants over there anyway, so I'll just rip that out. So actually all I need is one singular hole vent that allows all of these gases to get pushed into that left-hand giant chamber. And voila, there we go. So you can see that is, again, the gases in there are irrelevant really. You can see the polluted oxygen is already being created from that polluted water. I'm going to rip this open now. Anybody that's in here, or anybody that can get in here, will have a spacesuit on by design. So it won't matter too much. And of course, on that bombshell of the Atmo suits, I'm going to, of course, now make, well, give them the ability to get to all of the floors. In doing so, I will then, of course, remove all of the ladders that are no longer required. Most of them are just there for previous scaffolding to bring things down. I'm just going to clear it up. Of course, I am putting the pole in there because it will be, I don't know how much quicker, but much quicker for them to get down to that bottom level. And therefore, the oxygen and the Atmo suits will last longer. Is the plan anyway. So we'll do that and get them over there, get that built so that we've just got a straight line from... I mean, I could just raise up the floor on that bit there instead of dropping down 2 levels, but I don't suppose it matters, to be honest, at all. It's the same principle. So nothing too exciting here. I will just delete all of the infrastructure, ladders, pipes, etc. that I don't need. Putting in scaffolding ladders like here, where I do potentially need to get over to there. And from there, it should look a lot nicer. There's no way anybody wants to watch this. It's boring as crap. So I'm going to do it, everything, all in one go. And then I'm going to go for a cup of tea. Because I don't want to watch it either. So hopefully when we come back, it'll be a bit tidier. And here we go. So straight up the ladder, I have to go around there until I move that geyser, of course. And the idea is that the majority of it is just in place to allow me to get to the things that they may need to get to. Obviously not that power cable, but I don't think that's doing anything anyway, to be honest. On this side, you can see that we are nearly complete getting rid of all of this. It's a little bit at the top here. And then at the bottom, there's a tiny, tiny bit. Remember that most of this area is not breathable for them, or it is polluted, so that is an issue. Now, using the talisman to move items, it is apparent now, and that's me just moving the wrong one. So yes, I did that. But it is apparent now that you don't need to build the trophy machine thing more than once. That you can see there. You build it once, and just build it somewhere in your base. You use it to move things around, but you only need one. So, for reference, last time before they did the changes, you had to build one per, but you don't anymore. And then you just select down there on the option which one you want to move. You have to have surveyed it first. And then just click move it, and you move it. Nice and simple. So here you can see there is an additional natural gas geyser. I want that geyser to be moved. So using the code name it has, they each have an individual name. You can then say move it, and there we go. So now in this chamber of natural gas, I can move elsewhere if I want to, but for now it's fine. I now have 2 in there doing the same thing, which is extra wonderful. And additional power for our backup power. Remember, our main power is supposed to be thermal. Now we're wearing spacesuits. I'm going to send somebody in to tackle this final fossil. There's 4 to do, and this is the last one. This is the one that's extremely hard. The good thing about the completing it is you can actually destroy them as well, or remove them once you've done that. They do give a good visual beauty amount. I think it's 20 or 25 per, but they also continue to put off the ridiculous amount of heat, and that's no good. So there you go. That is the 4th one done. That completes the quest, and what it actually does is unlocks the original one, and it gives you an infinite source of fossil. So for anybody wanting to use fossil for various different ornaments, etc., this is where you get it from. It is a job you have to set up priority-wise, and the right amount of the right people to do it. But you can read that there if you wish. And that's it. Quest complete. Water's moving nicely, and the tanks are filling up nicely too. Again, when they're full, the vent, the output will block automatically. And if I need more storage, then I'll deal with it. I'm not too worried, and I'm not going to build infinite like you can with the air tiles, because I just don't like doing that cheesy sort of stuff. What I will do is actually set up a oxygen system, so a lot of that water will get used, and we may find that we don't actually have enough. Looking up here, there's some liquid carbon dioxide, by the looks of it. It's getting that cold. This cooling vent system that is here at the very top of the base is for the power. That needs to move. It needs to move over to the right-hand side, just above where all this has been cleared out, so that the base can continue to go straight up. The idea is then maybe 2-3 levels from the top of the base, I will then dig out, and that's where we go outside and start doing things like rockets, satellites, and anything else we need to do with a vacuum, really. I am going to push the priority on this, though. I want it done ASAP. Then I can rip down all of these ladders, and everybody is good to do the next task, which, like I say, is moving up the base. Also, the power spine needs to be sorted as well, so that we can take that all the way to the surface, because things like the rockets and the platforms for the rockets require far too much power to use simple cables. And that's the other thing as well. The cables all need upgrading for metal cables, not oil cables. So copper likely is the obvious one, because that's what I like to use it for. Okay, so that is pretty much done. A little bit there on the right hand side, you can see. But the rest of these ladders can now be deconstructed. Once it's all out of the way, I will then put back... Well, I'll leave the ones that need to stay. Make sure nobody gets trapped. But then up the top, I'm going to put in a new scaffolding setup just to allow me to move over the cooling vent or the cooling pipe, sorry, for the power supply. There is a little bit there to dig out as well, so I will leave that line across. But all of this can go. It's not required for anything. In fact, really, this chamber now just needs to be vacuumed, so that all of these gases can be put into our sorting system and stored so that we can use them when we need to. Obviously, there's a bit of natural gas there that will be used for power. Oxygen will be used to keep us alive. Polluted oxygen will be converted. Hydrogen will be used for any cooling or heating needs that we do have. And then there's a liquid down there as well that needs pumping into the system. But with the tanks that we've got now for storage, that will soon get whipped up and stored, no problem. More problems with the temperature in the farm, and it's all because of the wallpaper. I mentioned it before, the wallpaper does hold the temperature quite well. So if it's a good temperature, that's great, but if it's too cold or too hot, it's very difficult to get the gases to drop with that wallpaper there. So ripping the wallpaper out from the farm will allow it to be a better way to control the temperature in that room and make sure that we do not run out of food. Just in the process here of building out this double room. The reason I've done a double is because the hydrogen then can get trapped at the top and carbon dioxide or oxygen at the bottom. I do need to move it around a little bit, but this is for my Dreckos. So as soon as I've got, I think there's 2 on the map. I might have killed them when I shouldn't have done, but we'll get eggs from them. So we'll get Dreckos in here. Hydrogen at the top will allow the Dreckos to grow their scales. I need to feed them either bristleberry or mealwood, which I'm going to go with mealwood because it doesn't need lighting or liquid. So it just needs fertilization, which is dirt. So some live mealwood plants in there. The Dreckos will then turn into the glossy Dreckos. The glossy Dreckos then grow scales in hydrogen climate, which then are sheared by the shearer into plastic. And you basically get plastic without having to use oil. The oil process is not too bad, obviously oil to petroleum to plastic, but it requires a lot of power and it also gives off a lot of heat. This is just farming. So if we can get a nice army of Dreckos, that'll be great. And then if we get enough, I think it's 7 or 8 is too many for them, I'll then build another room. But it's going to take a while because I obviously need to get them to egg up and then the eggs to hatch, etc. because there is no more on the map and there is none on the other planet either, or other asteroid. First thing I need to do though is vacuum this room out so that it's clear. I'll then put in some hydrogen and carbon dioxide, oxygen. Of course the hydrogen will automatically go straight to the top as it should, and the oxygen and carbon dioxide will come to the bottom. Moving on, you can see all of the scaffolding ladders are now out of the way. It does look a bit weird in the background. That is biomes that you can see of the background. It looks a bit odd. Most of it is just polluted oxygen, though, I think, on the right-hand side. I just need now to move over the cooling. You can see I've already put in the ladders to allow me to do so. And I've chiseled out a little bit of space. And then I've put those 2 doors up the top there to allow them to stay within the base, go up and then out. There are no Atmos suits for the right-hand side, so they will have to hold their breath. And it is pretty cold too, so they're going to be, they're going to be cold and probably short for breath on the right-hand side. But just for moving them pipes over, I don't think it's enough. The other stuff that they do on the right-hand side is very minimal. In fact, the only reason they're there at the minute, you can see them cleaning up. So I will use the pick up things from the shipping system to pick that up for me, put it into a conveyor belt and then get it sent into the base. Doing that means that my duplicates don't have to, and obviously the system's quicker. As I say, just something really simple like this. Both of those 2 together with their range will cover the entire floor, and as soon as they're powered with the loader, they'll move all of that stuff onto the belts. And it did work, but I didn't wasn't recording. So I've moved it, basically I moved all of that water that was stored here, and then just moved these over because there was a lot of stuff here as well that was stuck in the water. And as you can see, the left one and the right one both together cover that entire floor. I don't want the duplicates coming over here and doing anything. They didn't seem to be before, but it looks like they've got nothing to do. So all I'm going to do is chuck down a quick door, As soon as that door's finished, I will not allow them to go to the right, which means they won't be able to get there, like so. Now, the duplicants don't do anything over here, and both of those shipper picker-uppers will do the work. You can see all the goods travelling. They then get dropped off right in the middle of the base in 3 different locations to spread it out a little bit. And then when they get round to it, they can store that in the right locations. You can see there, look, 1, 2, 3 on the left-hand side. The one on the right is not used. So individually, they'll get dumped there, and then they'll get put away when they get chance. But it means that they can do that in the safety of the base where there is oxygen, and that they do not have to suffer with temperature, etc. As a quick fix, I'm going to double up on the electrolyzers. So there's 3 at the bottom. I'm just going to put 3 above. Exactly the same system with exactly the same automations. And then there'll be a pump above that too. And we'll just get double the oxygen from there. The next step will be to build an actual setup that's much bigger than this. Probably on the right hand side where I've got space, and what I want to try and do is actually not connect it to the base, because the temperature will eventually get through the heat proof tiles, the insulated tiles. But what I can do here as well is chuck in a final, and luckily I didn't even measure any of this, but it was just looking at that fits, and I'm just going to chuck in another one pump that will pump this water. This is saltwater brine that is negative about 8 or 9. And I'll just run a loop through the electrolysis room to keep that room cool as well, because if the room's hot, the oxygen that's then gassed out is hot, and that makes the base hot. That should work. I've also put a thermometer in that's connected to that pump, and then through an OR gate so that there's 2 thermometers there, as you can see. So as long as one of those thermometers sees the room is above 30 degrees, it will activate the cooling system. I'm also going to raise this vent because I was dumping the hydrogen there, but that's right on the level that I want to be pumping. So I moved it to the very top, right next to the actual pump that pumps out the hydrogen. And I need a second pump as well. And also I need to put in a liquid shut-off to this cooling unit with the ethanol. Now, remember me doing this back in the day, and it is working very well. In fact, it's working too well, and it's now made the room too cold. So I'm going to chuck in a liquid shut-off valve and a thermometer. Nice and simple, and then tell it when it can pump through. So if the room gets above a certain temperature, say 40, 50 degrees, it can work, but then it will turn off. That way it will stop it from getting too cold and breaking anything, and also it will be much more efficient on the heat energy and the cool energy that we're actually using from the surface. Just need to wait for a gap, and then I can shut that in. Okay, so we caught the singular, and yes, there is unfortunately only one Drecko. I'd struggled because I've obviously installed a mod that's given me new buildings, and the old building, the creature drop-off building, has been replaced, so you can't put it down. So the one that I built on the other asteroid is bugged out. But I can get rid of it, it's not a problem, and these are the new ones. So you can see the down arrow is a drop-off, and the up arrow is the pick-up. The pick-up is used for when the room gets overcrowded, for an automation, but I didn't know that at the time. There is a few gaps in my piping, and that's because I've been doing things like building the water towers and stuff and not paying attention. I really should pay more attention when using the destroy tool, but that's not something that's interesting enough to watch. So what I'll do is just clear this pipe out and then add in the one that I actually want. All we need to do is get oxygen up to the Atmo suits so that they can use them. But I actually have a decent amount of oxygen stored in one of the tanks over in our gas system, so I'll just use it out of there for now, I think. Pretty much like that. So you can see that bottom right one there with a blue background is almost full of oxygen. And we'll just use that for the Atmo suits for now, so I'm not taking any away from the actual base. And then I can control it better. So the base is the priority for oxygen, and if we have any spare, it goes into storage that we use for the Atmo suits. If that runs out, the base is still provided for, but they won't be able to use the Atmo suits, and they won't use them because they won't have oxygen in, so nobody should suffocate. Now, the Draco that's in there isn't actually going to do anything. It has just laid an egg, but it is the wrong Draco for making plastic. I'm an idiot and forgot that I need to feed it mealwood, so that's why I built that. but easily fixed. I've moved the shearer up top to give me more room at the bottom, because that's where the gases are going to be that the plants can grow in. The hydrogen will obviously fall to the top. When I get carbon dioxide and or oxygen in here, that will get pushed up. The grooming table is at the bottom, so that for the duplicants it's less stressful for them. The grooming thing keeps them happy. The shearer actually gives us the plastic. All I need to do now is plant mealwood, not bristle blossoms, because again they need light and other things. They're a lot harder to grow, although I think they're better food for us, but I don't think it matters for the actual Dreckos. As long as you give them one or the other, they will turn into glossy Dreckos. And for the 100th time, I've ripped out the farm and rebuilt it. The tiles kept getting too cold. I'm not sure what's actually cooling it down. I'm going to do a bit of research on that, but for now it seems to be working. Also, I've given 3 gaps, and I think mealwood needs 2, so I will be able to gain another farm there if I need to. Food's not an issue at the minute though, but I would like to make sure that doesn't decrease, that we can gain up to about 30 duplicants. It's the oxygen that's the problem though for us at the minute. You can see the oxygen is now coming up to the Matmo suits because they are running out. The ones that have run out though will of course not be used, so there is that. Now the power spine, you can see it going up here, and we are looking at 20,000 copper. So I can start ripping out the entirety of the power cables and replacing them. And to be honest, the easiest way to do it is just to delete them all, especially with the mod in that is chain destruction. Just tell it to delete all, just making sure that I don't disconnect the cooling loop for the power at the bottom of the base. And then what I'll do is put in new lines once I've done it, because I know that you might be able to run like 2 or 3 floors off one cable, but I'm not going to do that. I'd rather have them like 2,000 watts per cable, but only using 400, and then I can build when I want to without struggling too much. The power spine is going to go straight up through where that geyser is, that slushy geyser. I need to use the tool to move those. I will do that shortly. But the first thing I need to do is actually use up all of this copper and delete all of what you can see there, just making sure that the line that goes down to the cooling loop is left in place. The rest of it can be removed, and then we'll build from there. I'll do that off camera, so when we come back it should be mostly done. It's just putting cables down. I need to upgrade the transformers as well, from the small to the large, so they go from 1 kilowatt to 4 kilowatts, but we're using 2 because of the cable we're going to use. At the minute there's no need to replace the main cable that goes from the power stations, because that holds up to 20 kilowatts. When that starts getting capped off though, I can upgrade that as well, but that will need more copper, and I do use pretty much all of my copper to do this, so it is quite a big task indeed. But we are at the end of the episode now, so thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please click like. Any comments are welcome as always. Subscribe for more. Join us on Discord. Take care. Goodbye.